So today I got a short story for you. This is a true story, and maybe I'll be wrong, and I will correct it if I am. But long story short, I did a job a few years ago for somebody who I built a deck for them, and at the time, and we did a lot of other work for them, and at the time we didn't apply for permits for the job, and it was a mutual discussion. It wasn't like I insisted on not having permits. You know, to the best of my knowledge at the time, I said that the deck wouldn't exceed the setback, you know, based on where the stairs were, and he agreed. I didn't know at the time that there was a building limitation in place, that you couldn't build over a certain square footage on the property. And this deck, the old deck, which was small, which was like 4 foot by 4 foot with a set of stairs, was already exceeding the limit. But I was unaware of that. So we went ahead and built a deck. Long story short, we finished it up. He wanted to be in by Memorial Day because he was renting the house out for the summer. And he got in his first summer just after Memorial Day, and he had a decent first season. Not every single week, but he rented it. He then subsequently rented it for the next 2 years. You know, I'm pretty sure with full seasons. You know, we haven't really kept much in contact, but we did do in that time period 1 or 2 small things at his house for him and whatnot. And he was always nice. You know, we had a decent relationship. Well, he decided he wanted to sell that property this year, and he tried to list it on the market, and the survey didn't match what existed on the property, and that made the buyer skeptical. So they wanted to see permits for the deck, which we didn't have any, of course. Long story short, he wanted the deck taken down, and so I met him on site, and he asked me if I could do anything for him, and I said, yeah, I'd be happy to change the deck to, the township had already granted him the idea that he could have as much as 31 square foot of deck existing still with the stairs that were there. And so we went ahead and made that modification. Somewhere along the line, the town called me and said that I had to turn in for a permit for it, which I did. I did a drawing and submitted for the permit for it. When I met the guy out there to have this conversation with him, I told him that I didn't need to make money on this job, that I'd be happy to take care of the job, and he could just pay what it cost me to do. And I gave him a price point of what my framer cost for the day, you know, and then obviously plus disposal. And then in addition to that was obtaining the permits, which I didn't know I needed, you know, because the town hadn't called me at that point yet. So we do the job, we're all finished, and now he can sell the house. I call for the final inspection. I meet the inspector out there. We pass the final inspection, all good. I put together a small invoice and I send it over to him. And he calls me in a huff. You know, you told me you were going to do this for free. I said, no, I did not. Well, actually, it wasn't even him. It was his wife. She's screaming in the background that I said I was going to do this job for free. And I didn't say that. And I said to him, you know what I said. I told you that I didn't need to make money on this job, and that the framer was going to cost this amount of money to do the job. I go, plus I had to get rid of the materials, plus I had to buy a little bit of material, and I had to pay for the permit. So this here is the price point for the job. And the whole time, he, you know, his wife's screaming in the background, and I know he's pissed off about it. But you know, hey, it was a mutual discussion that when we built the deck, and he opted to build it illegally, and I opted to take the job building it illegally. So you know, there was some fault, and I thought that my solution to it was fair, and he agreed to it on site. So I just don't think he disclosed that information to his wife, and maybe she was the one who opened the email, and that's how this took place. I don't really know, but anyway, I haven't been paid. You know, their principle is that I made money when I built the deck 3 years ago, and they didn't like the fact that she didn't like the fact that I called out that whether or not I made money 3 years ago building the deck, they made money renting the house out for 3 seasons, you know? Why do I not deserve to make money on this? They made money for 3 years off of the deck being illegal. It made the house more marketable to be a weekly rental, in the town that it was in. Am I wrong for building it? Of course I'm wrong for building it. But, I still should be paid for my effort, paid for my work, And I wasn't even, again, I was charging them what it cost me to do the job. And they opted not to pay. And then when I brought up the fact that they had rented the house and they had made money on the house, the wife decided then that she was going to bash me on Facebook. She was going to, I love these people who decide that they're going to try to ruin your life and ruin your livelihood, over a disagreement. But whatever. I mean, she hasn't done that yet, or if she has, I'm not privy to it. There are some recommendation pages down here, so who knows? I don't go on them frequently, but I've always heard that I have a good reputation on them. But I probably should check it out. But yeah, I just wanted to tell you a quick story about what it's like being a contractor. You know what I mean? And the bullshit that we have to deal with. People are so entitled, and they just think that they can do whatever. But to not pay me after I jumped through these fucking flaming hoops so that they could sell this house. And mind you, they're going to sell this house for quite a bit of profit. Whatever, man. Go ahead, Paul. Go into construction. It'll be fun. You'll make money. No, I'm just kidding. I love it. I love it still. Even when you get ripped off. I love it still. Have a good one.